can do this. Welcome to my podcast, What the Fuck, Spirit. If you made it past that name, this is going to be the podcast for you. This is going to be a no holds barred, no bullshit, open and honest conversation with Maria Leggett, and that's me, about all things spiritual. It's time to begin talking in an open and honest way about what spirituality is and what it is not. We're going to discuss all things woo-woo, witchcraft, spiritual, queer spirituality, medium versus psychic, energy healing, light work, shadow work, and any other bullshit that people want you to believe because it keeps them comfortable. It is time for you to grow. Let's go. Good morning, everyone. Actually, it's good afternoon because it's now noon. How are you? I am super, super excited to be on here today. I have an amazing guest. So first, let's talk about what's going on with me. We have the podcast today, obviously, because you're watching it or listening to it. Coming in July 11th at Temple of the Rebel Goddess, we have Mediumship 101 coming up, and that is a 4-week course, and it's going to be Tuesday nights from 7 p.m. to 9 p.m., and that is in person only. So for those of you who've been dying and waiting for Mediumship 101 to come back online, I've had some feedback from some clients that they find it more difficult to do 4 weeks in a row. And so I'm going to release on July 29th. It's going to be an all-day thing from 11 a.m. Eastern to 7 p.m. Eastern. That's going to be Mediumship 101 all day in one class if you would like to do that. We also have readings that I'm doing in person at Find Me in the Woods on Tuesdays. And I have started doing women's circles and sound baths down at Washington Courthouse, Ohio for the yoga room, Washington Courthouse. So excited, at 138 South Lafayette in Washington Courthouse. And if you own a metaphysical business and you would like for me to teach Mediumship 101, 102, run a women's circle, do sound baths, please contact me because I am open to travel. I am manifesting going to different states and spreading my love and my energy everywhere so that everybody knows that they're accepted and welcome and you have a place to go. So that's what's happening with me. And today we are going to talk with Sarah Monroe of The Art of Wild Pleasure and my most amazing favorite place to be, Temple of the Rebel Goddess in Dayton, Ohio. Sarah is an amazing creatrix, director. I mean, she's brilliant, absolutely brilliant. To be around her and feel her energy, you know that everything is just going to be okay in the world. Even if she's having a fucked up day, she'll just sit in your mess with you. If you're having one, she just is giving and loving and generous and sweet. And she's also got this kind of sour side to her like I do, right? And throws the F word around. And that's why we get along so well. Because she is just as real and amazing as I am. And yes, I am amazing, and I have zero issues with admitting that. So let me bring on the amazing Sarah Monroe.
Hello, love. Okay, so anytime I'm feeling shit about myself or about the world, I'm just gonna fucking listen to that intro because
that's what I'm saying, baby.
That was an ego stroke, baby. Thank you. You know what? I should have asked you what name should I call you by in this podcast? I just realized that.
If you call me Maria, I'll probably cry. Please call me.
Okay. That's what I was like. Shelly was going to be the name that I naturally use, but I wanted to make sure.
Please.
Okay. Fucking perfect. That's so exciting. And also the yoga room. Is that with Jess and B?
Yes.
Oh my God. Those are two of my favorite humans. I'm obsessed with B. She's one of my most
greatest. Like literally, I'm at the point where I'm thinking maybe I should change my hair and kind of get it more like hers and be a little more wild.
I freaking love B so much. Yes, that's so fantastic. Well, congratulations. That's so great. I'm so glad that you're traveling around.
Thank you. I know. I'm so excited. So we started talking about this. Like Jess and I met in this really interesting way. Her ex-husband and I used to work together. So that's how I met her.
Oh my gosh. Such a small world.
Totally not even like he was not into the metaphysical at all. So the fact that, you know, he would come in, he found out that I was, and he would ask me these weird questions and I'd be like, she's just doing what's natural, babe.
Yeah. Yeah.
Get over yourself.
That's so wild. Oh, I love that.
It's amazing how spirit can really just make things happen when it needs to. So clearly we were, meant to meet through him. And
Yeah.
I absolutely love and adore B and Jess. They are just
Yeah.
brilliant humans.
Yeah, I agree. I can get behind that.
All right, so let's talk about you
Okay.
because I like talking about you.
Okay, I do too.
See, this is why we get along. I don't mind talking about me either.
Okay, good. Okay, so what do you want to talk about?
Oh, I want to know all the things. So I want you to talk about what it is that you do, how you do it. Like just tell me everything about you, what your business is, and if
Okay.
you want, like separate them so that people can get a picture of you as the Art of Wild Pleasure and then a picture of you as co-creator with, the Rebel Goddess Reclamation / Temple of the Rebel Goddess.
Yeah, perfect. Okay, wonderful. All the things.
All the
Thank you.
things.
Okay, so I founded the Art of Wild Pleasure and I co-created Rebel Goddess Reclamation as it was originally known, and then / now it's the Temple of the Rebel Goddess with Sam Spyhala, which is I know that this is not the first lifetime that we've experienced together, and I'm really excited that we get to create in this life.
Wait. Is that how you pronounce her last name?
Spyhala, yeah.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. It looks like Spychala.
It
Yeah,
does. It's
yeah.
something, and it makes sense because, I was Jewish for a long time. So it's
Oh,
like,
challah bread, yeah.
yeah,
Yes.
I will
That's
never
actually
forget that now.
That's actually when I asked her how she pronounced it, that's how she described it. She was like, it's like spy holla. I was like, okay, I love you. That's before I even knew her. And I was like, yeah,
Perfect.
I love you.
Perfect. Okay, sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt. Go ahead.
No, please. No apologies. Okay. So we're gonna get into intimate details in regards to how I started the Art of Wild Pleasure. So I was married for about 10 years and it was extremely angry marriage. It wasn't a physically angry marriage. It was just like we were angry all the time. We were so young. We were so both like pig-headed, bull-headed. Neither one of us made each other happy. We had kids. Truly no spirituality, no career, no nothing. It was just like we were just existing, and I hated my existence to the cellular level. And after I transitioned away from the marriage and moving into so intimately in the marriage, we're going to get into the details. Intimately in the marriage, I felt like I was broken. There was no pleasure intimacy, there was no pleasure in life. I was just a lump of cells inside of a flesh bag that was just living, if you could really call it that.
Yeah.
And then the first person I was intimate with after the marriage, I was like, oh, I'm not broken. It's just that we did not bring each other pleasure.
Yes.
And then the first real relationship I had after the marriage, it was beautiful. It was everything. It was intimacy. It was connection on a level that I'd never experienced before. But then eventually it began to feel like a chore again. Like it had all those other times where it's like, okay, if we're going to get it on in the sack, it's going to be for you. This is all for you. I'm just going to kind of like lay here and let it be.
Mm-hmm.
And I felt, I was so heartbroken because of that, because we have an infinite or not an infinite, a finite number of years in this body of ours that we can be sexually and healthy and active. And what a travesty that it felt like a chore for me. I mean, we've got life and jobs and kids and exterior activities. Of course, that's going to hamper our ecstaticness, but also like, why does that have to happen? Right? These expectations that are set, we're trying to meet these expectations. We're falling short of the expectations and we're miserable at every turn. And so when I realized that I was falling into that cycle again of, even though I enjoyed my time with him, I didn't want to have that time with him. So then I was like, okay, if this happened before and it happened again, I know I'm not the only woman who has felt this way. So I started studying and I started getting books and listening to podcasts and TED Talks and documentaries about what I could find out about the female sexuality, which there's many more books than there's other things now. I mean, now all these years later, there's so many beautiful podcasts to listen to um, and things to experience through social media. Although I would caution to say, make sure that you're filtering what you're seeing on social media. That if you see something, make sure you research and actually find out that that's the actual truth, because
Amen.
these 10, 20-second bites that we're getting are not necessarily factual, or they're factual, but there's these parameters of things that you have to know, these outer layers to know this inner lining. But when I started on the physical level, and I realized that as a 30-something-year-old woman, I didn't know my bits and bobbles. I had no idea that the vulva was different from the vagina. And I didn't, like, I
Mhm.
knew that everything had a name, but I didn't know these names. And then it made me go, well, what a damn travesty. Like, we're
Yeah.
taught health one time in middle school, and we're going to be inside of these bodies for our entire human existence. Why is health and our physical wellness and our well-being not talked about every year? Like, we should know these things so that when something does go wrong, we know. Like, we usually already intuitively know, but that most of us, like, I'll give an example. Doesn't matter if you've given physical birth or not. Doesn't matter if you identify as male, female, or anything on the spectrum. We all probably have a weakened pelvic floor. We all probably experience some form of pelvic prolapse because we are not strengthening our pelvic floor the way that it needs to be. Some people are over tight, some people are under tight. We don't know. We have no parameters of these things, but we know we pee a little when we sneeze. That's not normal. Doesn't
Right.
matter if you've physically given birth. That's not a normal thing. But we are not taught these things. We are not given education following. Let's just take birthing bodies. We're not given education following the birth of those bodies to know how to bring ourselves back to a space of health and awareness. Or we're told in the 5 minutes that we see our doctor that these are the things to look out for, but then there's not room to grow and explore and figure out all these little intricacies. So when I started on the physical level, I was like, oh my gosh, I don't know these things. I cannot be the only woman who does not know these things. So a lot of my work I will say that I don't want to say specialize, but I do focus on women's health, people who identify as women. Um, so stepping back from the physical level, I was like, well, who am I as a human? Who am I as, like, experiencing this life in with this flesh and bone body of mine? Because I didn't have spirituality to really anchor me.
Mhm.
Um, so then I took a step back, and I luckily had, and through a confluence of events, became friends with a woman named Katie, and she introduced me to these other women. And through just conversation with other women, evolution happens inside of circles. That is why circles are so important.
Absolutely.
Evolutions happen because it could be a passing phrase that somebody says, and it cracks something open inside of you that you might not have gained that knowledge. You could have, but it could have came at a much later time. But these evolutions happen inside of women's circles, of these soft spaces that we can be. And because of her, I was introduced to Danielle Dolsky. And from Danielle Dolsky, I don't remember if it was her specifically, but, like, because everything kind of happened in this crazy confluence of events, I was introduced to Dr. Clarissa Pinkola Estes. And it, all of these beautiful things kept falling into place, where I knew that I was on the path of something beautiful and wild. And these books and these women who are far more knowledgeable than me, that I just bow at their feet. And then I know that they're, like, holding me up at their side, because it's like, it's no longer to be bowed. It's time for you to be up here. It's just, ugh. Okay. So from all of those beautiful things, I just went headfirst into it, and I was taking training at the House of Om in Yellow Springs, Ohio, with Danielle Dolsky. And Melissa, who owns House of Om, really just let me throw shit at the wall and see what stuck. So I did my first ever workshop there. It was called I love a good title. And so it was called Happy Yoni Yoga. Yoni meaning sacred space, most likely or most commonly referred to as our vulva and vagina. So Happy Yoni Yoga, colon, It was a much longer title where it was something like understanding our divine selves or something like that. I just remember I've always wanted to use happy yoni yoga. So it was just a workshop of talking about the vulva, the parts and pieces, how we can connect to it, our sexual experiences, how we can keep it, thus keeping ourselves healthy. And through House of Sam and I were able to cultivate our relationship to create Rebel Goddess Reclamation. So Sam saw me in 2018 at a solstice gala where I performed a spoken word called A Love Letter to a Wild Woman. It's my most favorite thing I've ever written. And her and I met later that year. I had just learned about Danielle Dulski, and she was like, oh my gosh, I took Danielle's training. And the way that it worked is, at the time, she no longer offers this particular training, but Danielle would allow any graduates to come back and just kind of hang out. And you didn't have to pay. You could just come back for the training. And like, who wouldn't take advantage of that? And you'd be surprised the amount of women who didn't take advantage of it. But Sam took advantage of it because she knew I was going to be in that class. And she's like, yeah, I've got the time. And so in that training, I said something along the lines of, we were kind of working on our bios to make our bios really juicy. And I said, I'd throw a really great party, or plan a really great party, something like that. And Sam goes, yes, I don't know what we're going to do, but we're going to do something. And I was like, okay. And then from that, we created the first of 2 events that we got off the ground before the lockdowns happened. We called them seasonal events. So they were based on the season, and they were spoken word and poetry and storytelling and music and dance and ecstatic experience. It was really beautiful. And then we were planning our 3rd one. A lockdown happened. And in that time frame, for the longest time, am I overwhelming? Is this good? Are we good?
Yeah, no.
Sometimes I feel like I run away and it's like, so much information.
No. I'm enjoying all of this. Like, I'm trying to keep notes in my head of what I'm going to ask you about.
Okay. Well, I was for the longest time a certification chaser. Like, I didn't feel like I was worthy to teach.
Oh, been there, done that.
Yeah, right. Oh, I know you know a thing or two about that.
Oh, God.
So so I had paid for all of these courses, and I was like, I was just gifted time. I need to utilize this time. Don't get me wrong. There was definitely days of depression inside the lockdown. Like, there's such a black cloud over that time that the only way that I could even like begin to tell you what I experienced in that time was looking back at my calendar, because if I didn't schedule it, I wouldn't remember it. Anyways, so I had all of these certifications that I was getting, and inside one of them was like a menarche. Some people pronounce it menarche, our blood. It was a way to create sacred space for our girls who have just transitioned to maidens, to celebrate the coming of their blood. And inside that training, there was a not a promotion, but just a, hey, this is something that you could do if you wanted to at one of these events, which was make red drums. And I was like, what is this? And through that, I became a red drum carrier through Nakaya Seeds at the Red Moon Mystery School. And I knew that they're frame drums. So originally women were the drummers. There's this beautiful book called When the Women Were Drummers. I might be paraphrasing the title, but it's by Lane Redman, who has since passed, but she has written one of the most beautiful books. I cannot recommend it enough, about the history of how women were in charge of most, if not all, sacred ceremonies in our ancient times. We would drum people while they were birthing. We would drum people into death, into the next life cycle. We would drum when they were planting seeds. We would drum at ceremonies for the season. So we were the drummers. And when I took this training and I made my first drum, I was like, holy shit, I have to bring this specifically to other women. Now we do it for everybody. Anybody who wants to make drums, let's make fucking drums, because they're the best. But I was like, I know I have to do this. So the first time I did it, I was like, I want to make it a full day experience, because it is a higher price thing, because most people will only string 1, maybe 2 drums in their life. So it is a higher priced experience.
Yeah.
And I wanted it to feel like of true creation, not just come in, make some holes, string it, be done with it. It needed to be a ceremony itself. And I love cultivating ceremonies. And the very first person I thought about doing it with was Sam, because I was like, there's no way that I can hold space with integrity and quality for 8+ hours. And so the idea was that I would do this, and every time I would have a different helper, and the exchange would be they would get a drum in exchange for helping me that day. And so Sam came and helped me with the first one. She helped me create the timeline. She helped just her thoughts, her opinions. Sam is just pure magic.
Yeah, agreed.
Just absolute
completely.
pure magic.
Yes,
And her brain, like, I'm deeply in love with her brain. And she came and she helped the first time, and she's like, yeah, I'm never leaving. I was like, no, the fuck you ain't. You ain't never leaving. Never. And so we were nomadic for a really long time. So we took drum making all throughout our area, Washington Courthouse. We were there a few times. So we've created drums many places in the Ohio area. And we would, given the opportunity, we would travel, but it does feel different when you have all of your supplies in one location as opposed to packing them up and traveling. But so we had done that for the better part of a year. And then beautiful, another 30-minute story, confluence of events. We came into our sweet, sweet temple and made her into just the most gorgeous thing. And we're very proud of the community we've created with the temple and outside of the temple. So the Red Drum experience was originally an Art of Wild Pleasure experience. And then the Art of Wild Pleasure has kind of evolved into being heavily focused on retreats. I tried the online thing and it just wasn't for me. It just is not something that I felt like the fire to passionately cultivate.
Right.
My medicine and what I want to offer, it has to be experienced in person. And that's just something that I know about myself.
Yep.
And so I can offer one-on-ones online, and that's not a problem with me at all. But group experiences, they have to be in person for me. So I offer a few week-long retreats, a few weekend retreats. If I could have just week-long and weekend retreats throughout my year to sustain me, that would be like primo life right there. And I'm on my way. I'm very much on my way. And then I felt the call to start cultivating ceremonies, whether it's one-on-one in-person ceremonies, or a private group ceremony. Like I come to your house, or possibly you come to the temple, because we're wanting to use that for more than just the public things that we have to offer. So we're starting to add that into our schedule. So yeah, so the Art of Wild Pleasure is the reconnection, the rewilding, the yumminess that is life, the sumptuousness that is life, and the connection to earth. And I'm just getting the flashes of images like dirty feet on the earth, our hands in the grass, the wind in our hair, the sun on our skin. That is the Art of Wild Pleasure. And then the Temple of the Rebel Goddess is spiritual community seen through lenses of many different walks of life. And it's the most beautiful thing. Thank you for that 30 minutes of letting me talk. Don't know if I answered your question, but you got my life story.
Of course you did, which I absolutely love. And it's funny, like you're listing all this stuff out and I'm thinking, okay, I want to ask her about this and I want to ask her about that, which is why I always say, introduce yourself, because I really like the organic flow of the podcast. I don't like having these preset, all these things. I have one preset question and that's it.
And that's it.
That's it. So, it's interesting that you say this, because you're absolutely right. Women as a whole are never taught. And I can't imagine that it's any better. In fact, I would think it's probably worse for a trans woman to learn how to, care for your vagina, bring it in, honor it, because there are so many pieces, at least with trans women, they're taught, there's the major vulva, the minor vulva, there's the,
because they go through bottom surgery, especially, they have an intimate knowledge that
exactly things that women who are born with it don't have.
Yeah.
But after that, are you taught to work with the medicine of your vagina? Are you taught to, do all of these things? And it's not necessarily the case. I mean, I didn't grow up feeling like masturbation was okay. I mean, a lot of people who grow up in the church, because the church says that masturbation's not okay.
Yeah.
But how else do you know what your body enjoys if you don't?
Preach it.
I mean,
Exactly.
seriously.
Exactly. We grow up with the expectations that we know how to make love, and we're never taught how to make love. And that is
No,
that's a travesty. We're not
it is
given
a
the
travesty.
tools, yet we're given the exam. And a lot of times we ain't acing that exam, baby, because we're not
No,
taught. And then we're also taught that the end goal of intimacy is orgasm. That is not the end goal.
no,
It is pleasure. It is the
correct.
experience of being intimate with your partner in a way that fills your soul up, or partners in a way that fills your soul up to surrender to this ecstatic bliss. But it does not have to mean that the apex of that is the orgasm. And that's the travesty.
Yeah, that's not the whole end goal. The whole end goal is to fully embrace the beauty of your body, no matter what size it is, no matter what you identify as. Just love your body.
Yeah. And
And
I would also add to that safety.
oh yeah.
Because if you don't feel safe with the partner that you're with, like full surrender safe, then you're never going to experience the levels that pleasure has to offer you. And it's not necessarily, and I'll also add this with a caveat, and it's not even necessarily necessary that it's the person that you're with. It's the experiences of your lifetime that you might have to learn how to shed and remove and work through and understand for you to be able to find yourself at a place of complete safety for you to have complete pleasure. And that's where the work is. And it's hard work.
Absolutely. Yes. I don't disagree with you. And I mean, you're going to share, so I'll share. And I'm going to try to make sure that I don't put any details out so nobody can figure out who's who in this whole scenario. When I was much, much younger, I had a few sexual partners that, I mean, I did it because it was what I was supposed to do, right?
Mhm.
If you do, excuse me, there's my throat going. Are you sure you really want to? And so, you know, it's not that I didn't have the the sexual excitement beforehand, but the during was like, it was difficult, and it was really hard for me because I had been molested as a child. So that really fucked with my ability to be able to be comfortable naked with someone,
Yep.
because somebody else has already taken advantage of me and shown me that it was all about them, not about me at all. And when you're a kid, because you're a child, it's not even shit the show's supposed to be happening.
Yep.
And so I really had to work through some of that stuff to try and figure out, am I comfortable with any of this? Finally, I came across a partner who gave me my very first orgasm, and I was embarrassed when it happened. I was embarrassed and wanted to cry because I didn't know that this was a thing, because I had not been educated, was not aware. Here we go. Was not aware that women could actually ejaculate just like a man can.
Yeah.
Had no idea. And so I was completely embarrassed and wanted to cry. And thank God my partner at the time was very educated on women's sex. I don't know why or how that he was that educated, but I was grateful because he had to explain it to me. And I was the one with the vagina and the clitoris.
Yeah.
So he explained to me, no, that is female ejaculation. There's this thing in here called the Cowper's gland. I mean, like, he literally explained it all to me.
That's amazing.
I know. Like, literally, spirit put this man in my path.
Absolutely.
What I had down there.
Yeah.
And so I was like, oh, really? So that's okay? He's like, yeah. And I said, can we do that again? He's like, yes.
Yes. No problem.
Yeah. And so at that point, and I was so young, again, we're talking about age, right? I was so young, and I mistook the enjoyment of that pleasure, that intimacy, to be for love. It wasn't that I loved him. It was that I loved the sex.
Yeah. Yep.
And
That's
so
another that is another thing that we're not taught. And it's
we
okay
are
for you,
not.
and it's okay not to have, it's okay for it to be lust,
Yes.
but we need to understand the differentiation of lust and love, especially because when we're thinking about classically, I shouldn't say classically because I don't want to put anybody in a box, but a lot of the times we experience sexual experiences with people that are about our same age, and
Yeah.
boys and girls specifically will look at it as a heterosexually. Boys are not at the same level.
No.
They're full of hormones and they're full of their pleasure,
Yes.
and girls are full of angst and anxiety for the most part and pleasuring him, and not about what is making me happy. And if we don't do things like be intimate with ourselves,
Yeah.
explore ourselves, or have a partner who's willing to explore with us, we don't know what's going to make us happy.
Yeah. No, I completely disagree with you. And so I wound up stepping into this place of, we split up and went our separate ways. And then I met another man who was very adventurous sexually.
Uh-huh.
And he showed me things that I mean, and I felt very safe with him.
Yeah.
But only in that way. Like sexually, we were so compatible, but as a man and a woman, I couldn't trust him for shit.
Yeah. I call that devil dick.
Yes, there we go. I love that. So I was definitely with the devil dick for a long time.
Yeah. Because it's just, it's so bad. It's good because that human is just trash. But it's hard as, we all know the song and dance. When it's good, it is good.
Yes.
And it's hard to not be with the good.
Agreed.
Yes.
And so I was with someone after him who was not adventurous, didn't know a lot, was much more shy in the bedroom.
Mm-hmm.
And so they happened to make a comment to me one time. Then immediately I turtled, went completely back into my shell.
Mm-hmm.
And she has that wild woman who really enjoyed sex, really enjoyed all those things, has never come back out again. And I am 54 and I want her back.
Yeah.
And so I'm sitting here and I'm thinking, oh my God, how can I work with Sarah to get this back? Because I miss this. I miss that part of me, right? And my poor husband is like, hey, can we
yeah, which is the soul song of a lot of women. A lot of women.
So, wait. So Jake is watching the podcast and
hi Jake. Hi, you gorgeous bitch.
I know, isn't he amazing? So he posted below, he goes, it's coma dick. It's so good you wake up 6 months later wondering what happened.
You ain't never lied, Jake.
I'm telling you.
This is hilarious. I didn't know that there was a comment section, so that I just clicked over to it. That's hilarious. It is coma dick. I love it.
Yes, I totally love that. So yeah, it's, and I distinctly remember when my older girls were growing up, I handed them a mirror and said, go in the bathroom and go look at yourself.
Uh-huh.
You need to know what's down there.
Yeah.
You need to understand.
Yep.
What
I wish my children, because my children are older now. I mean, they're not. Two of them are adults. One is not. But the one that is not is very well, I should say this. I never held back, even with my son, because I'm like, this is going to do nothing but service you. It's going to serve you as a man that is heterosexual for the woman that you choose to be with. So I had, there's this book. Oh my gosh. It is fleeting from my brain right now, but it's about vulvas. And it was one of the quickest Kickstarter funded books. And what it was is, I kept it on the coffee table for a few years, and then we opened the temple, and now it's at the temple. But what it is women sent in images of their vulva, and then an artist, I believe she is from New Zealand, or they are, I don't know how they identify, did an artistic rendering. So they're all an animated version of them. And then there's a little story about how they came into the relationship of their vulva. Because if you are somebody who watches classic pornography, and there's nothing wrong with a good porn as long as it's an ethical porn, but we are exposed to one style of vulva for the most part. And if we don't have that vulva, if men see that and they're seeing the same style of vulva, and if women see that and they're seeing the same style of vulva, if they deviate from that, they're weird. Listen, we're a fucking snowflake, baby. Every single vulva in the world is different from the other.
You know, it's funny. I never thought about that before, but you're absolutely correct, because they all kind of look uniform, right?
Yep.
They all kind of look the same. I never thought about that, but you're absolutely correct. So even in porno, we're stuck in this comparison of, oh, mine should look like that.
Yep, exactly. And then that leads to this insane, please, for the love, that is all, everything that is good and pure. If you know somebody who is considering labiaplasty, please ask them to do deep research and possibly reconsider. There's nothing wrong with your vulva. The only time I would even say that is okay is if you consistently get infections. But labiaplasty is literally the reduction of the labia, which is also a reduction of your clitoral hood, which is a reduction in sense of pleasure.
Yeah.
I have read surgery on top of surgery on top of surgery of women losing the sensation, and they can no longer orgasm, because not everybody can orgasm with internal stimulation. It is usually external. And fuck Freud. I have a deep-seated hate for that man, because he said that an immature woman is the only type of woman who has an orgasm with external pleasure. No, that is 99% of most women cannot orgasm without external stimulation.
Absolutely.
There was so we think that the clit was discovered sometime in the 1980s. That's not correct. It was originally, like, the structure of it, I should say, it was sometime in the late 1800s, but then it made a resurgence in the late 80s, early 90s, and then now is like, or at least my feed is filled with clits, because that's just how I roll.
Mine is definitely not filled with them.
Okay, so we need to get on the train of having our feeds filled with clits, is all I'm saying.
Well, I'm sitting here and I'm thinking we should do like I know that you don't particularly care to do things online, but the majority of my audience is online. I'm trying to build up in person here in the Dayton, Ohio area, the but means an either or kind of thing. And yet, I'm thinking maybe we should do some kind of a circle together where my audience, like, Sarah's going to come and do this with us, because I need it just as much as anybody else does.
It's one of my most favorite things to do. And actually, I've not done a circle about vulva education in quite some time. So I feel like we need to get it on the books. We need to do the things. Yeah. Because
yes.
So one of the two books that are like on the top of my head, there's so many more, but if I could recommend two books for you to get deep education on vulva, vagina, and pleasure, number one is Come As You Are. One of the best books I have ever read. And she talks very deeply about non-concordance, which is your brain is ready to have sex, your body is ready to have sex, but your vulva and vagina are not ready. And inversely, your vulva and vagina are ready to have sex, but your body and your mind are disconnected from the idea of having sex. Because sometimes
on the latter, my body is like, hey, let's go. And my brain is like,
Yeah. So she talks about that. One of the best books. Her name is Emily. I cannot think of her last name, but it's like Nagowski or something along that. She also has a podcast.
Sure the title Come As You Are is going to find it.
Yes. And she also, I believe she just started a podcast, or she's had a podcast. So I highly recommend this brilliant woman. And then the one that like super got me started, because Come As You Are was probably the second book I read, but the first book, I should say read, I'm audiobook, because I drive insane amount. Is Vagina, A New Biography. So that made me we're very aware of our vagus nerve, but very little do we know about our pudendal nerve, which our pudendal nerve, it is in the pelvic bowl, the pelvic floor of our bodies. Both all sexes have it. Our pudendal nerves are unique to us, which could be why some of us can experience deep pleasure with internal stimulation as opposed to external. You can experience pudendal nerve entrapment, which is where it gets entrapped inside the muscles in the pelvic floor, and it can decrease sensation. There's a whole bunch on that, but please know, I just want to give a trigger warning. I believe it's the second half of the book. So she breaks it up into 3 chunks. The second half has to do with the use of assault and the to control women. So please know that is included in there. It was it was at moments I had to pause and step back from it, but it was necessary for us to understand, because so much of our world is shaped by what we experience and how we grow up. And so in this Western culture, with the truly, we are unaware of how much peace we actually have here. I know that there are many things that run us hot between racial injustice and things like that. But when you look at war-torn areas, we do not understand the same way that the people who experience war.
Agreed.
We don't understand that. And it is a tactic used to destroy women. And so I just want to let you know that is a part of it. But for me, it is a necessary read because of the information that is inside of it. And it makes us empathetic and sympathetic to women all around the world.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. So well, yeah, I like pleasure.
I wrote them both down.
Okay, good. You should. They're really good. Really. And both, not every audiobook is worth the read, because sometimes the reader is difficult to listen to. Both of them are very good. I can't remember if the author reads both of them. I think Emily does do Come As You Are.
Okay.
Excuse me, but both of them are very easy listens, audiobook wise.
Awesome. We'll see now. So now you got super intimate, and now my listeners know way more about me than they would like to know.
Hey, yo.
But here's the thing. If we don't have these conversations, Sarah, who is?
Exactly. Who's going to have these conversations?
Because exactly. I am not the only woman who goes through this same kind of stuff, right? I'm not. I know I'm not.
Yep. I know that we all think that we're special, but we are not special in this capacity. Every person goes through these things. So it's important that we talk about them exactly what you said. So so that's one of the things I love talking about is pleasure.
It is always interesting to me where I sit. I don't want to use lower vibration words like envy or jealousy. Mm-hmm. I want to step into a higher vibration of I am in awe of transgender women who embrace everything about being a woman. They do.
Yeah.
And I look at that and I go, oh my God, you're amazing.
And they do it unapologetically. At least on the surface, I can't imagine some of the things that they might go through in the background, just like we all do. But they embrace the femininity like nobody's business.
More so than people like me who were born with it, and you just take advantage of it because it's there, right?
Yep.
And then I also sit in utter awe of beautiful human beings like Jackie O, who step on that stage and they put on the most amazing dresses and they do their hair and their makeup and they are fucking stunning.
Yeah.
And I look at them and I'm like, I could never look like that.
Yeah. But you could.
Well, and that's the thing. So it's reminding myself I can be that beautiful and I can move like that. I can do those things.
Yes.
Get out of your head and just do them. And that's what I am in awe of, is that these beautiful people who do drag, these beautiful people who are transgender women step into these roles and basically set an example for women like me to go, get the fuck out of your head.
Yep.
Go be the woman that you're meant to be.
Yep. I love it. I love it all. It gives us permission. Sometimes we literally just need to have someone go, you can do that. You're allowed to do that. Yeah. And then I was given permission one time to scream, and it is my favorite medicine to offer people. When I say you need to scream, I mean scream from the bottom of your souls, from the pelvic of your floor, from your internal organs. I want you to scream. It is the best medicine. It is the best medicine.
People don't realize how powerful that scream can be.
Yeah.
So did you see what Jake wrote?
No, let me see. Women have guided and protected me my whole life. Jackie O is a celebration of all that feminine energy I've admired. You're so sweet.
I love him.
I love you.
I love it. I just he is such an amazing human being, and I
Yeah.
love being able to watch the Ruby girls and do their thing. And huge plug for the Ruby girls here in the
Yeah.
Dayton, Ohio area. So they are
They
loving
raised
human
over $1
beings.
million for AIDS research. Over
Yes,
$1 million. It's
they
amazing.
will do anything to go above and beyond to help the LGBTQ community
Mhm.
to be everything that you need to be. And, if you're in this area, support the Ruby girls, watch their shows, do the things.
He's
Oh,
actually Jackie O is going to be our MC at the semi-annual
I know,
burlesque
I cannot wait.
fundraiser.
Yes.
I am so excited. He's already gotten a few sponsors for us. I'm in awe. Thank you. You have no idea how much it means to me.
Brilliant, 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 brilliant. So, let's see. I'm so excited talking about all these female
All the
things.
things.
I know, okay. So, Jake's like, I'm big excited. We are too, babe. Listen, I loved the burlesque show last year, but knowing that my beautiful sweet friend is going to be the MC, I cannot wait,
You have no
girl.
idea. I'm so jazzed. I'm so freaking jazzed.
I know. It's like, what dress is she gonna wear? What hair is she gonna wear? What do we? I can't wait to watch it all.
It's gonna be big time. It's gonna be to the point where in our next one or two, I don't know if it's by the next one or the following one, because we do this semi-annually to raise funds for the temple, just for operating costs and to continue to allow our spiritual community to be anchored into place in the Dayton area. But in the next one or two, we're going to be too big for the space, so we're going to have to outsource the space that we actually have this show to make room for more people, which is like, you have no idea. I've been wanting to do burlesque for over 20 years. And to know that something that I helped create for the temple is becoming so big with the help of the most magnificent souls. Jake is Jackie O of the Ruby Girls, and then Gem City Burlesque. If it weren't for Gem City Burlesque, these last two would not have happened as beautifully as they did. They are so gracious in allowing me to ask questions and gain opinions and be a part of the performance and introduce me to other burlesque performers. These are the literal dreams are coming true through collaboration. And if you would have asked 2014 version of me if my life would be like this, I would have said you were fucking crazy. I would have been like, I don't know what kind of pot or crack you're smoking, but you're crazy. And I cannot believe some of the things that I get to do in life. It's just so yummy. I can't not drink it up.
Yeah, me too. And that's exactly how I feel about this life. And it's funny because, the last burlesque show that I went to in November, and I've gone to other burlesque shows and I love them. And every time I walk out, I sit there and I go, I know I can do that.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a really true, deep part of me that really wants to learn to do this. I want to do it. Then it becomes, where do I find a stage where I can do it? How do I learn? What do I do?
Mm-hmm.
And what was that for?
Mm-hmm. I know somebody who has a stage. I know someone.
You do.
I do.
So now I have to learn. I just have to. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'll. Yeah. So you hear me stuttering, right?
We got you, bitch. We got this. We got to make dreams come true. Life is too short. It's too short for all of the amazing experiences that we can have. And
I agree with
even
you.
though my heart aches for travel and I know travel is in my future, we don't have to travel to make dreams come true.
No, we don't. I agree. I totally agree with you. It is. Watching the burlesque show is freeing in so many ways.
Mm-hmm.
The body positivity that comes from that show.
Yeah.
It is truly a blessing.
Yeah.
Truly a
I
blessing.
agree. Yeah.
And I think, my old saggy boobs who have fed children and done the things.
Yep.
And it's like, you know what? All forms of a body are beautiful and wonderful and expressive.
Yeah,
and
they are.
that's exactly how it should be.
It's a celebration. Our bodies are a celebration no matter how they look.
Our bodies are a celebration. I agree.
And for those of you interested, it's Saturday, August 19th. Tickets go on sale very soon. if you want to be a part of the burlesque show.
Templeoftherebelgoddess.com.
That's right. Upcoming events.
We got to plug it all, right? We
That's
plugged
right, we do.
Burlesque, we plugged the Ruby Girls, we
Yep.
plugged it all. We got to make sure we cover everything.
That's right. That's right.
So here's the the one question that I ask everybody.
Yeah.
Which I've gotten like
I've been kind of scared about you asking me this question.
Why?
Go ahead and ask it. I don't know. Ask it.
What does spirituality mean to you?
Oh, yeah. So sometimes I get these flashes of images, and then I try to put words to these flashes of images. So I'm going to do my best. I'm just going to give you like short bursts of answers for what spirituality is to me. The face of God for me is nature. She is absolutely everything. She is my hands and her soil. She's my bare feet on the earth. She's the smell of the fire that's crackling behind me. She is the wind in my hair, the sun on my skin, the scream on my breath. She is the moans that I make. She is the stars that I see in the sky. Spirituality to me is the feeling of ecstatic bliss, of ecstatic experience, of foot stomping elation, of sweat down the back, of hiking your skirt up and dancing your most ridiculous dance and not giving two flying fucks about it. Spirituality to me is the connection of breath between two souls or 5 souls or 20 souls. Spirituality is expansive, and no words will ever be good enough to express for me what spirituality is.
Tell me why you were afraid for me to answer that. Like I
don't know.
I didn't want you to stop talking. I'm sitting here going, wait, you're done? No, keep talking, Sarah.
I don't know. I don't know. It's drumming, it's singing, it's screaming. I know I've already said that, but screaming is so fucking important. Okay, so this is one of the things that I will also say. The health of our pelvic floor is a direct correlation to our throat. If you were to look at, I posted it recently on Rebel Women with Teacups. So that is a podcast that Shelly was recently featured on, that Sam and I do. So if you go back and you look on our Instagram post, we don't have a Facebook page for Rebel Women with Teacups, but if you go back, you're going to see this image of the throat, the vocal cords, and the esophagus in comparison to the vulva or vagina. I can't remember if it's, because vulva is exterior. That's all of the parts and pieces that we experience on the outside of our bodies. The vagina is interior. Vagina is a Latin translation for the word sheath. So you could see it as a sheath to a sword, which if you experience internal pleasure that way. So if you look at the way that the the vagina and the larynx match up, and then the vocal cords and throat to the pelvic floor and vaginal canal, it's astonishing. You moan when you make babies. You moan when you give birth to babies. If you have a tight throat because you're keeping back your truth, you have a overstressed pelvic floor.
Wow.
It is astonishing. It is astonishing the connection that our upper and our lower, the above and the below, have to one another. It is astonishing, their connection. So if you find yourself always reserving yourself, or maybe it could be the opposite, maybe you're overusing your voice and you're not taking the time to stop and listen, your pelvic floor could be weaker in that aspect, because you can be over tight and you can be under tight in your pelvic floor, and that can lead to some serious health issues. The health of our pelvic floor is insanely important. And I would caution that if you're starting to work with your pelvic floor, don't immediately turn to Kegels. Kegels is not for everybody, because if you are already over tight, you're tightening an already tight pelvic floor and you're disservicing yourself. So this is where I would absolutely recommend for you to go to a pelvic floor specialist to get an assessment, and also your anal canal is connected to your pelvic floor. So you could have a weak vaginal canal and an over tight anal canal, and in those two convergences can be some deep healing that needs to happen.
Yeah.
And so and this goes for any gender. Everybody has a pelvic floor. We need to understand the health of our pelvic floor on a deep and intimate level. Because why do you want to go and experience life with pain inside your body when we do have tools? And I know that not everybody is financially, especially in this Western culture that we live in, we don't have the healthcare that we need. So this is where we need to start talking to people. Does somebody we know a pelvic floor specialist that is willing to do exams at a lower cost or at an exchange? I know that there's probably legal parameters that they have to follow, but when we start talking about it and we start exploring it and we start researching it, that's where the magic will happen. It's not going to be an easy road. But
No.
is your body, your heart, your soul, your physical well-being worth it? Abso-fucking-lutely, it's worth it.
Well, yeah.
Absolutely.
I mean, it makes me look back and wonder now. I mean, I was diagnosed with kidney issues and stuff when I was a kid, which, I mean, no surprise, right? I was molested as a child. Where do you think all that energy got stuck? It got stuck in my, in my root chakra, in my sacral chakra, screwed up a lot of stuff. And then, I had 3 children. I had 3 children very young. And at age 27, I had to have a bladder lift.
Yep.
Because I was peeing myself all the time. Yep. And I remember going in for the surgery, and all of the nurses came walking in and just looked at me and went, "Oh, I don't think," like literally every nurse walked into the, into the OR, you're in that waiting room. This was back in 96.
Okay.
So they walked into the room where I'm in the hospital bed. They walked in and went, "Oh, I'm in the wrong room. Sorry." And I'm like, "Okay." And they walk out, they grab my chart and walk back in and kind of look at me. And I said, "I've had 3 children." And they're like, "Oh." They literally were shocked at how young I was to have that surgery.
Yep.
But Sarah, when you look back at all the shit that I've been through in that area, is it really a surprise that I had a bladder mesh? No.
And we think the pelvic floor is just for our sexual organs. No, that is the girdle for all of your organs in your torso. It holds all of that weight. So why are we not learning how to take care and tend to something that holds all of the functioning organs? Almost all of them.
Yeah. And, it's funny because now I sit here and I think about, because, I have this program that I run called the Path of Grace, which is all about epigenetics and working with the mother wound. And I'm sitting here being reminded, my grandmother, who's on the other side, my grandma Gregory, just literally gave me a picture when she was in her, I don't know, maybe her 60s. I remember hearing somebody say, Grandma had to go in to do an emergency hysterectomy because she went to go to the bathroom and everything just dropped out.
Yep.
And I'm going, "Oh my God, Grandma, like you literally, like this is an epigenetic down through the family. We need to work on this pelvic bowl and recognizing the beauty of being a woman and getting through all this stuff."
Yep.
Because we deserve it.
We absolutely deserve it. Every human deserves it. And we also have to think about, because we live in a more sedentary society, things like this were not as prevalent in our ancestors, because they were consistently moving. They walked everywhere. They got down. Like, one of the things that you'll notice in a lot of cultures, that modern cultures, but they're still quote unquote considered primitive, which, like, come on. But I would say that they're the most natural. But when they cook and clean, a lot of the times they get down, they squat like they're in garland pose is the best way I can describe it. Malasana, for those of you who know it, it's a yoga pose. So like you're squatting down. You're squatting down. Like if you look at babies who can walk, when they squat down, the way that they squat down and shape their knees, that's the way that we need to be doing a lot of things. And
I call that the China squat, because when we went to China to go get my daughter, everybody sits on the corner. Like, that's just how they sit on the corners. They just squat everywhere. Not to mention there's nothing but squat potties in China.
Yep. Yep, exactly. Because that's the best way that we should be using the restroom, because it's taking the resistance of our body, the way that we've been sitting. It removes the kinks essentially and allows that flow to happen. That's why I call them shit stools in my house. So I've had a shit stool before shit stools were even a shit stool. So
We had this conversation. Do you remember this? We talked about that. The minute you hear this thing on the floor, spook,
yes. It is like a sound of comfort because I know somebody's taking a shit.
yes,
Or even just peeing. It works for anything. Yeah.
I watched Shark Tank when they came out with the squat potty, which makes complete sense, and I'm glad
Yeah.
that people have it.
Yeah.
And I was talking to my husband. I went, "Oh, I should get one of those." And he goes, "Why don't you just use Madison's step stool, which is my
Exactly.
granddaughter?" So I just use my granddaughter's old step stool and I pull it around and I use it.
Yep. Exactly how it came to be in my house too.
So much easier. So much
Yeah.
easier. And can I just tell you how much I enjoy being able to have these very open conversations with no embarrassment?
Yeah.
Because
'Cause
I
it
have
shouldn't
zero.
be.
There should not be. There
Yeah.
should not be a problem with talking about having a menstrual cycle. There should not be a problem with any of this. None of
Yep.
it. And we need to make all of this normal. Everybody poops. I don't care who says they don't. Everybody farts. Everybody poops. Everybody pees.
And if you're not pooping, baby, go to the doctor. Something ain't right.
Correct. Get some probiotics, do something, but
Yeah.
you need to go.
Yep.
And it's so important that we have these conversations. I know it makes some people uncomfortable, but I would bet you that there are more people who need to hear this than there are the ones who are uncomfortable with it.
Mm-hmm.
That's serious. We have to have these conversations. We need to continue to do them.
I agree.
And I'm like legit dead serious about us doing a women's circle online with all of this.
Yeah.
Like,
I got a slideshow already set up. I'll add some more information. We good.
I would love to do that. Let's do it. Let's do it. Let's see. I've had so much fun. I almost don't want it to stop.
I know.
I also want to be respectful of the fact that it's been an hour and I don't want to hold you up from all the things, because I know you have lots of stuff to do, many things that you have in your life going on. And I am just so grateful to have been able to meet you and work with the temple, work at the temple, and just be able to share in that community with the amazing community that you and Sam have built. I am honored to be a piece of it, a part of it, and being able to share my energy and speak about it and just all the things. And I am just gratitude, Sarah. So much gratitude.
Gratitude to you. Thank you, Julian, for connecting all of us, because through Julian was you and through you was Jake. That's amazing. All of the things, all of the confluence of events have happened to make us all better.
It is. And if I sit here, and this is where I start to get into the, allowing my emotions to flow, because when I think about it, right, I met Julian a long time ago, and we met through someone who they're not even front center on my stage anymore. They're backstage and we don't really talk anymore. And, I just look at the things that spirit orchestrates.
Yeah.
Spirit just is so prevalent for me. And it's let me orchestrate this to bring this person to move this piece to get you where you need to be so you can do all these amazing things.
It's so gorgeous.
It is. And I can't stop the crying because I am just so fucking grateful that this is my life and this is what I get to do. And I'm not stuck in these corporate surroundings. We had this discussion before. My budget is nowhere near as big as it used to be.
Yeah.
But for the first time in my life, I am fucking happy.
Yeah. I know that both of us, or anybody that is with integrity in the spiritual game, we all want to make money just because it would make our life softer. But the fact that we keep doing it, regardless of not knowing whether or not we can make ends meet.
Yeah.
That right there, that's, for me, that's super integrity.
It is.
There's a lot of inauthenticity in this realm There's a lot.
And it's so unfortunate.
It's so unfortunate. So if you have found yourself to have ever been encircled with someone who has been inauthentic or without integrity, take your space, take your healing, because we all need to do that, but don't let that take you away from the work.
Not at all.
Because that's where life just explodes, is when you still get into the work. You just find new teachers, you find new paths.
Yes.
That is all worth it. It is
Yes,
so worth it.
which is why I love that you had said earlier, when you're getting these little snippets of stuff through social media, because the way that technology is written, it's written to give you these snippets of stuff. And, part of me really dislikes social media just because it is a game that you have to play to use the right SEO, to hit the algorithms, to do the right things, to spread the message, to do this stuff. And you can't give this full openness of this is really what we need to talk about. And, it just, I don't know. I mean, it gets me into the whole, this is how the white patriarchy runs, is through social media, where then there's the rest of us with spiritual who are like, I have to use that. At least I do, in order to keep getting my business out there and growing.
Yeah. I mean, that's just the new evolution that we're in. I mean, we were in, at one point we were word of mouth, we were written, we were notices in the newspaper, things at coffee shops, all the things. We're just in a new evolution, and it's just learning how to navigate that, even though there's only so much control we have as trying to get in the digital realm as to get our information out. But it is what it is. But if the word of mouth is good, it's going to be good.
I don't disagree with you.
Yeah.
And that is why I don't really advertise per se. Everybody who comes in and books a session with me and says, hey, listen, I want to do a reading. Very first thing I always say to them is, how did you find me?
Yeah.
Because I need to know what is happening. How are you getting me?
Same thing, especially with the temple. How did you hear about us?
Yeah. I have two main ways that everybody hears about me. One is I did a Google search and you came up. And the second highest
on point.
The second highest one, or the top big one, is recommendation.
Yeah.
I got your name from a friend. And I had the most beautiful thing happen yesterday during a reading. This woman came in and I said to her, how did you find me? And she said, oh, through my friend. And she gave me the name of the friend. And I don't even know who this woman is. Like, she's never been a client before. And so somebody who didn't even know me has heard of me, knew my reputation, recommended me, and the reading was phenomenal. Beautiful. And I just literally just keep stepping into grace and gratitude for, thank you, Spirit. Yes, my budget is not where I would like for it to be, but I still have power. I still have internet, and I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing until I don't have a breath in my body.
Yeah, I agree.
And then on the other side, I'm going to be somebody's kick-ass fucking spirit guide. So watch it.
I love it. Yes.
I have already told the spirit world I am not going to reincarnate for a very long time. If ever, I want to go be that kick-ass spirit guide.
I love it. I love that that's the agreement.
Like you and me, and go, bitch, what are you thinking?
Yeah. Let's get you back over here. Where are you going? Let's not go off on that trail.
Oh, goodness. All right. Well, thank you so much, my beautiful friend.
Can I shout out like certain social media things and where to find me and all that jazz? I could have like talked over top of you from actually telling me to do that. So that's my bad. Okay. So I'm not that active on Facebook. So if you message me on Facebook, wait like 1 or 2 weeks and you might hear back from me. I'm super active on Instagram. So I'm Sassy Sarah Monroe. That name was bestowed upon me by Bookworm Bonnie, who was the 2013 Queen of the Hobos. That is an actual real title.
I love it.
So that is why I go by Sassy Sarah. So Sassy Sarah Monroe on Instagram. The Art of Wild Pleasure is a page that receives my Instagram information on Facebook. theartofwildpleasure.com, templeoftherebelgoddess.com, Temple of the Rebel Goddess Instagram, and Rebel Woman with Teacups on Instagram. Applications for the Rebirth of Your Wild 2024 retreat will open in October of this year. And then I have a retreat. The dates are in flux because there was a snafu with the retreat center. So I don't have the exact dates, but in May is my Soft and Slow, a wild woman surrendered to her ecstatic pleasure retreat. I have a weekend retreat coming up in September. Only 5 spots are left. That is a semi-primitive camping retreat. We have access to water and electricity, no promises on showers. And that's a yummy and gritty one. And I hope to have more retreats in the future.
Oh, that all sounds amazing. So I want first dibs on the October one.
Okay, I'll put you on the wait list. Wait list people, if you go to my website right now, there's a sign up for a wait list. Those open in September because last year that retreat sold out in 2 months.
Is that on the Art of Wild Pleasure?
Blessings. It is. Blessings on top of blessings on top of blessings. I had to beg people to come to my first one. I did not sell out for my second one, but I was like, the right people who are supposed to be there will be there. And then the third year, it sold out in 2 months. And I just can't believe it. And I have a huge wait list. The wait list is 20 people. Oh, where is it at? If you go to my website, you'll see sacred week-long retreats, and you'll see Soft and Slow and the Rebirth of Your Wild. And if you go to the Rebirth, at the bottom of the page, you'll see sign up for a wait list.
Can you tell I'm like doing it right now?
I can hear you typing. I'm here for it.
Apply applications open right there. Apply here.
No, if you go a little bit further, that should say that should say applications closed because it is closed for this year. And payment plans are available because I know this is a higher cost retreat, so payment plans are available.
All I see is apply here. Did I do the wrong one?
Hold on.
Soft and Slow.
Oh, that's Soft and Slow. That's the main one. If you go to Rebirth of Your Wild, so it's 2 different retreats.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. Okay. Awesome. Okay, cool.
Awesome.
Yay.
Thanks, bitches.
Thanks, bitches. This has been an absolutely wonderful, wonderful experience. I am thrilled and excited to have done all of this with you. You are such an amazing human being.
You too.
I don't even know. There's just not enough words that I can say. So thank you to all of you for watching. If you're just picking up on the end of the podcast, please know you really need to watch the whole thing. We talked all about women's pleasure. We talked about the vagina, the clitoris. We talked about pelvic floors. We talked about all the things that women really need to know, to understand. We shouted out some amazing businesses: Gem City Burlesque, Ruby Girls, the Art of Wild Pleasure, the Temple of the Rebel Goddess, truly all of these beautiful things. And I will list all of Sarah's access on social media. I'll put all of those on the podcast. So if you want to catch this, you can either rewatch it on my Facebook page or you can go to WTFspirit.com and you can re-listen to the whole podcast, What the Fuck Spirit.
Yay!
Thank you. I love you so much, and I hope you have an amazing rest of your day.
You too. Mwah. Love you.
Have a good one.
You
love
too.
you. Bye.
Bye.